Hi friends, welcome back to the Electronic Triple 2016. It's good to have you here. We're almost done. Got 15 minutes left to talk about video games. So we're not going to talk about all those shitty video games. We're going to talk about the best video games that we saw here at E3 2016. Peter Brown.
Hi.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm so good.
Good to have you here.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Rob Handler.
Hey, this is my first time on.
Hey, first time on. You've been editing basically all of these videos.
Yeah, a little brain dead. So
Yeah.
if I speak dumb, you let me know.
Don't worry.
Yeah,
Just happened.
we're already there.
Fair warning.
Yeah. Michael, Mike Mahardy.
Hey.
Middle name Mike.
Mm-hmm.
You're on brand with the shirt. Good job. Great to have you here. All of you.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, wonderful. I want to talk to you about the best game of Yeah, can we stop it? I want to talk to you guys about the best game that seemed...
Our favorite,
The
perhaps.
favorite game that seems to be... Just from listening to conversations around this war room in just a couple of minutes. But before we get to that one, let's talk about some of our other ones we liked. I've played hardly any games, so I'm really just going to throw this over to you guys. Peter, some of the games that you've enjoyed playing your time here in the LACC.
Just like you, I actually haven't had a whole lot of time to play as many games as I have in the years past. A lot of interviews, you know, a lot of like stage stuff. Sony, I thought, really knocked it out of the park. Seeing God of War kind of transform from this brutal game into something that's got maybe a touch of sensitivity and emotion to it is kind of interesting. That totally caught my eye. You know, there's just a lot of different stuff. Even the Xbox One, happy to see that. You know, with the S.
Yeah,
that's headed.
I want to talk to you about the Scorpio very briefly, actually.
Yeah.
You weren't super convinced by some of the specs that they were throwing around for that one. I mean, it did seem like a bit of a hype trailer.
They're offering a system on a chip, which is a integrated graphics, you know, with a CPU. Right now, if you have a dedicated graphics card and a computer, you spend hundreds of dollars on it. It can maybe do 4K, maybe, depending on the game and the settings.
Right.
So for them to sort of tout out this, you know, bring out Scorpio and say, oh yeah, uncompromised 4K gaming, this, that, and the other.
And virtual reality, like, without limits.
They're blowing smoke up people's butt. Like,
Right.
I think maybe you're going to see games scaled to 4K, but
Right.
still rendered natively inside the console at lower resolutions, or you're going to see really simple games that aren't really graphically demanding.
Great.
At 4K.
Res 4K. Looking forward to it. Rob, what are some of the games you've played here that you've enjoyed?
I've actually been pretty lucky. Yeah, the big one for me, or one of the big ones, Battlefield 1.
Oh, right.
It's been, as a huge, huge fan of 1942.
Yeah.
It is so awesome. Like, flying a plane, bombing this guy, like, and him using the crater I just caused as cover.
Right.
Yeah. Leveling buildings, just the gameplay, and even like for something like Call of Duty, where I feel like there's a lot of twitch and like, you know, a lot of like courage going into an area and just getting killed, whatever. The pacing is really quick. This is a game where you have, you know, lower health. I'm being really conserved. I'm terrified when I step out of a door into the open because of so many factors that can kill me. You just like I found myself like squatting up with guys, you know.
Right.
I'm a medic. I'm running across the street to revive a guy, even though I know I'm gonna die doing it. But
unless the fog rolls in, then you can the dynamic weather. I played it Sunday,
Right.
And that was just like the overarching, the bigger game mode. And then we played Domination the second day, which is the smaller. Or no, we played both modes, but we actually got the dynamic weather on the second day.
Yeah.
And I think it'll eventually be like sandstorms in the Abu Dhabi. And then the fog rolled in when we were playing. It's cool because when you respawn, it zooms out on the big map, and then you can see where the fog is on the map.
Cool.
So there's this one field that we kept just getting smoked because there's a couple machine guns up on a hill.
Right.
Finally, the fog rolled in. I was like, all right, and I sprinted across the field. No one even saw me, so I was fine. But at the same time, it also it's like snipers are kind of useless.
Yeah.
But scouts have a flare that they can shoot up. So we tried doing it. I didn't actually succeed in doing it, but I could see some people doing it. When there's fog, you can shoot up a flare and then get out of there, so the bombers know where to hit in the fog.
Right.
Yeah.
because
Wow.
what's so great is that you think about, you know, the entirety of the game and how it changes dynamically, right? Like, so at this fog moment, it's not my goal now to attack the ground. It separates players into basically having an air game.
It's like a shift of focus.
Yeah.
To like a different part of it.
But shooting a flare up will help bombers bomb that area.
Everything I've heard from people playing Battlefield 1 has been incredibly positive.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of have one question that I've seen a lot of the chat say as well, is that does it feel like a reskin still? Does it feel like sort of a slap of paint, you know, the Battlefield Vietnam to Battlefield 1942?
No.
Or does it feel like a new Battlefield?
It feels like a new Battlefield, but it's still kind of a return to like the 1942 roots in like these larger battles. That it's not about like reflexes like Call of Duty, like Rob said. It's more positioning yourself so you can be effective at doing something, like helping out something. Like Rob said, the destruction was kind of a cool thing when the artillery, we heard them like whistling, and it was a 64-player game. Like 5 of us were in this one capture zone. Artillery, you can hear it come whistling in. We're like, ah, shit.
Right.
And it killed all of us, it killed everyone except for me. I was half dead, but I crawled into one of the craters that the artillery itself had made, and then I didn't even shoot my gun. I just by staying in the capture zone and getting like my teammates up there in an armored truck.
Yeah.
It's just like things like that where you don't have to be shooting someone to be helping. You can just be actually like the world itself is dictating how you play, and that's why it feels like those older Battlefield games with actual substance.
That's awesome.
Stylistically, it's killer too. I mean, just the grit of it. It's just like Spielberg with Private Ryan, right?
Right.
You get that filter on, yet the embers of fire are bright orange.
Yeah.
Like you just get a really great visual style that I think is completely unique to this series.
Cool. Could see that orange and teal from their posters finally getting into the video game.
Exactly.
Before we talk about the big one, is there any other ones you guys want to mention quickly? Other games that you were impressed by? We just had the folks on. I keep forgetting the name of this game. Days Gone. We just had those folks on. I'm really impressed by that. I like the idea of a small sort of team that like had this series that they worked on for so long, who's kind of been sitting on the bench for Sony for a long time, actually getting a game, and like it's based around their like. It reminds me of CD Projekt a bit with The Witcher, where it's like it's based around where they're from, and it's like they feel really lucky to be working on this big franchise. So I kind of hope they pull that one off.
Where is it?
It's up in somewhere in Oregon.
Oh, cool.
Pacific Northwest. They're based.
Nice.
It's Sony Bend, so just had those guys on. Is there any other games before we get to the?
I actually had just played Lawbreakers.
Oh right, cool. Yeah, we Cliffy on this morning.
And
How was
I
it?
played a good amount of Overwatch. My
Right.
God, it's so Overwatch in a very positive way. Like
mixed with Quake, right? Like fast, like
super
verticality
fast.
What was all
stuff.
that hook and sort of zero-G stuff like?
Basically, there were 3 points, capture points. The middle capture point, where everyone kind of collides, is all 0G. So you just you get in there, and next thing you know, everything changes. There was one character that was so diva, like in every shape and form, and they even have like lines and quips and stuff like that they say when they kill people. But she's jetting around with like a minigun,
And you're shooting rockets, you get flown back.
Yeah.
In the zero-G.
Yeah.
It's quite cool. Yeah.
Space stuff.
But it's nice I love it when I see just people explode.
Right.
Like compared to.
I mean, that's the thing, right? You say it's like Overwatch, but then also, I mean, that classic Unreal Tournament, like disgustingness.
Yeah, but that was fun.
That's cool.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, they got a beta of that one.
Alpha this weekend.
This weekend, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Closed, but yeah. Hunt down Cliffy B if you can get in on that. Okay, but there are so many games to talk about. We talked about so many of them in our pre and post show, and obviously a lot not on this stage, but on GameSpot.com and on YouTube.com/GameSpot and all our sort of reaction videos. But the one I keep hearing people talk about, and it's the one that's got all the biggest lines downstairs, and it's like the only game they brought. It's a classic Nintendo. You put all your eggs in one basket, but god damn it, those are some good motherfucking eggs. Peter Brown, tell me about Zelda.
Zelda's the only game I can think about, and everyone I've talked to has only positive things to say. But more than that, every single person I talk to has a different experience to share. And now, granted, like a game like Battlefield or Lawbreakers will give you those different experiences. But the things people are describing in Zelda are, these systems sort of piling on top of each other, where maybe you saw one cool ability in one location, right? And another in another one. You can start combining and like chaining those together in ways that are just so astounding to me. Like.
Do you have some examples?
Sure. Like, for example, let me see. Like, okay, so horse riding, right? You flip off your horse, get into a hang glider,
right?
Drop that, land on your horse's head, jump off him,
right?
Get your bow and arrow slow-mo in midair.
Epona?
Huh?
Epona?
No, it's a wild horse. You catch wild horses.
Okay. Okay. Did not know that.
That's the thing. Anything you talk about in this game, you can just be like, no. There's like a whole other thing to every little nuance that I'm talking about.
I was expecting old Zelda. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No. You can jump off a cliff, use your hang glider, land, snowboard on your shield, do a spin to attack enemies, use your bow and arrow while doing it. and then just like as Rob was telling me yesterday, like stop mid-slide and just like put your thing on your back and like keep walking away like a jerk. And, like,
Oh man! Well, when you said the hang gliding, the gift that you showed me earlier on Twitter was he had started a fire.
Oh right.
So he's on the horse. There's a fire in front of him with a boss past that. He uses the fire heat and wind to then get higher.
No.
Yeah.
And then get into slow-mo and fire the ice arrow.
Holy shit. Okay.
This is like some of my gameplay. So this was so freaking cool. This was the first thing I saw in my 45-minute demo. He shot an arrow at a beehive. All fun. There's the bees. But they scared away the enemies at the camp. In turn, they dropped their weapons.
The shot.
So they.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was that you?
No. So I had the dev play, but we just kind of asked him to do a bunch of stuff.
You just shot that rope.
No, but again, you scare the monsters away from the camp, so they drop their weapons.
Right.
And then you attack them. So you stealth to basically make situations easier. I mean, this is all.
Well, it's the
cool
sort of
stuff.
emergent combat you used to in like games like Thief, where you're going in with all your various tools and sort of combining them in interesting ways to.
Yeah.
It's not something we really. I mean, exploration has always been a massive part of this, and puzzle solving for sure, but not the type of puzzle solving that's like you were talking. We had them on, Peter. Was it 2 days ago? And you were saying like they. With the the hearts, for instance, the hearts used to be you just collect them cutting grass or whatever, right?
Right. It was this abstract kind of thing.
Yeah, and they've torn away this level of abstraction, right?
Yeah.
But they seem to have done this sort of all over the place. Then they've just presented the rules in the game.
Yeah, like this shot right here. If I can just give it a minute. Just looks so good. Yeah, like one of you guys was telling me you can pick up a leaf, and you can use this leaf for
That'll
various
come up
things.
later in the
That'll come,
clip,
yeah.
yeah.
So like at one point you get a raft, and I forget what the other function of the leaf was. It has multiple, but
It essentially just generates wind. So
Right.
he was using it to knock people off cliffs.
right.
Oh, here's the snowboarding one.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, he actually does like the.
And so when you're on the raft, you can use it to blow the sails on your thing.
No.
Yeah, it's like everything is built around these rules, and it just stacks.
And just applications for each item, and you just can see. Just the shrines with you get these abilities like generate an ice lift, right?
Right.
You just can start seeing these fit into a bigger picture of just combinations.
Right. Well, it's like Zelda classically, and I'm not the big Zelda nerd here by any means. I've played definitely the least of us four on the couch, and probably the least of anyone in the office. But there was always this thing of like, here is the ice level, here is the fire temple, here is the and it's almost as if they've taken those individualistic sort of rule sets that were in those temples and then just like plastered them across the entire world, and like said, have at it. Like they're combining as well.
Yeah. It definitely seems like there's. I mean, the map we were playing on was. I think one person said 5%, and then someone else came up to correct her and said 1%.
I heard it was 1%.
Yeah, and it was still big.
Right.
And you zoomed out, and it's pretty. What is it? 10 times the size of Twilight Princess, which is a pretty big.
Yeah, 12
game.
times.
12
yeah.
times. But yeah, there's different biomes. Like I mean, there's the winter area, then there's the more kind of like marshy. You start off in this like kind of just regular deciduous forests and fields and whatnot.
Yeah, and there are still dungeons, which are now known as shrines. There are 100 of them.
Okay.
So here's this moment where it's like freezing water. Like once you start seeing the chopping down trees aspect, and also the physics of it are outstanding. You don't hiccup or glitch out.
There's none of that.
It's like that Nintendo polish, but
Yeah.
also in like physics.
Oh, here it is.
And this is the biggest game they've ever made. Like they're on record saying they have the most people working on this game than any other game they've ever made before.
Like including like Galaxies and you think about some of the biggest games.
No, we asked him during an interview, like, is this the biggest production or whatever? And he was like, yeah. Like, no, like, oh well, kind of,
Right,
just like, yes.
Dude, I came in. I just played 10 minutes ago. I rushed up here after playing, and the last thing I did, I didn't even know I had the bombs, the magical ones, which are on like a meter now. Kind of.
Right.
They're not quantity. You don't have a quantity of them. It's just like this mana.
Like a cooldown or whatever. Yeah.
I pulled it out on accident, and then I was like, oh, I should get rid of this because like knowing Zelda or what I thought I knew, like it was going off my hand. So I threw it, and then it's like detonate. I was like, and I was trying to figure out what it was telling me, and then it was like, oh shit. So, but it had rolled down a hill by that point. Yeah. I pressed it. It blew up the bottom of a tree, which fell on a bokob and killed it.
No.
Yeah, and then of course I pick up his giant axe, and I like swung it, and the axe, it's not as powerful. Doesn't like do as much damage as the sword. I think like DPS or whatever you want to talk about. knocked him over, and he like got stunned, fell backwards into the fire. He was set on fire. And then his weapon itself was also on fire, so I picked that up and threw it at someone else and set them on fire.
Which does double damage when you throw items.
And I deflected,
really?
I deflected an arrow with a shield, like back at him.
Whoa.
On accident, kind of, because I was like, yeah, the controls don't feel like a normal Zelda right now.
Right.
Right,
It's
yeah,
a gamepad or
More
whatever.
complex,
So,
yeah.
so I like pressed A on accident, and I was like, oh, that's a shield thing. So I deflection. So I kind of swung it twice and hit an arrow and killed him.
So these little mechanical touches, but there's so much personality as well. Like
Right.
with the bombs you're describing, when they detonate, Link kind of has this motion where he like thrusts his hands out and opens his palm, like he's got some sort of like magical. He does have this magical power over
Yep.
it. You know, all these little things, like when he's cold, he's like shivering. When he eats, it's like this big
Yeah,
dramatic.
and even with the
comical
stealth
event.
mechanic that they have in there with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
audio levels,
Yeah.
like
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's a super weird aesthetic too, because like when you pull up your map in the game, he has like this
iPad
gamepad
or-
looking
yeah.
device. Yeah.
Right.
So then like the
it's
arrow,
NX,
like
it's the NX,
plasma.
I heard.
So that's what Randy is thinking. Like he believes that that's got, because you're using NFC, like you're doing things with this that you would use a modern piece of technology for.
Right.
It's not just a thing that has a screen. So Randy's starting to think maybe it's indicative of what we're going to see on
Yeah.
next in terms of hardware.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing I guess is that there was this kind of wonder, this question that okay, we're releasing this on NX,
Yeah.
will it be the same game on both platforms?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they're going to be able to change this.
Right.
It's too big a project.
Yeah.
So you're thinking then, okay, the NX is going to be this traditional type of
It will at least support traditional controllers that
Right.
we are familiar with.
yeah.
What it will do beyond that, beyond the gamepad, we don't know.
Did you get any information as to story stuff, wider than what they've talked about already?
You've been asleep. You've been asleep for 100 years. You wake up.
Okay.
There's these two chests. One with a
God,
basic
I'd love
shirt.
to be
One with a
asleep for
basic.
100 years right now.
One with a shirt and one with pants. You put them on.
Okay.
For the purpose
That's
of the
the
demo,
story.
you already
Or
outfitted
no.
and stuff. But one of the fast travel points they respawned was the Shrine of Awakening or whatever, and you leave and go out.
Yeah, and so basically the story is 100 years ago, Calamity Ganon.
Got
is
it.
Like he's like an entity now.
Yeah,
It's
he's
not
a rapper. Yeah. I love his early work.
He's like this cloud of smoke over Hyrule Castle, and you've been asleep for 100 years, and Ganon is now at the point where he's about to be powerful enough to take over all of Hyrule.
Okay.
So you were woken up to basically be like, all right, now's your time to put your powers to the test.
You're the Doom Marine.
They've been
Yeah.
exactly though. It's that exactly, and so yeah, that's kind of the main story. But one of the interesting things that they've said a couple times now, which I still find so fascinating, is if you are a good enough player, you can start from the very beginning and go straight to the final boss
Wow.
and beat it without experiencing any of the story. You know, like
That's like the opposite of what Zelda has been forever,
Yeah,
which is
right.
these gated.
Since the
Right.
first game.
oh
Yeah.
god,
You
they
need to be an adult. You needed the sword.
Yeah.
This,
talk to that old tree.
Yeah.
It's got some instructions for you.
Pete and I were talking about how like this is the closest. There's a lot of like Zelda purists who think that the first game is still like one of the best because it's an actual open world, whereas
Right.
like, every single other Zelda is like a false open world almost.
Yeah,
It's
or like
gated,
a-
item
yeah.
gates.
Yeah.
But like Link Between Worlds got a little closer to that on the 3DS, and then now we have this, and this is almost like the game a lot of Zelda fans have been like waiting
Link
for
Between
30
Worlds,
years.
I feel like, did it in a way that was kind of like cold and calculated. Like,
Yeah.
how do we change it? Oh, we strip away, the need to go in a certain order by just giving them access to whatever they want.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that meant you were prepared for what you were going to do because you said, I'm taking this item to go do this thing. This game doesn't give you that. You have to be resourceful and acquire everything on your own through your knowledge, through your ability. And, that's really impressive. The onus is on you to be successful. The onus is on you to define how you're going to be successful. And it lets
stuff.
you do it in so many ways.
Very impressive. Everyone who's come back who's played it has been very speaking highly of it. It's going to be annoying that you guys won't be able to play it again for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, it'll at least be a...
No, I got it. They gave it to me.
Oh, yeah.
Got the NX.
Do you want to sleep over?
Everybody come to my house tomorrow. Rob's
Yeah.
not invited.
The NX is supposed to come out in March of next year, right? So, and it's going to be available simultaneously on both platforms. This is the sort of game where people are saying, I'm going to buy an NX day one. We don't even know what the hell NX is yet, but they want the best version of this game, and they're willing to throw hundreds of dollars at it, not knowing what sort of hardware. Like, that's impressive as hell.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. The Legend of Zelda Breath
Of the Wild.
of the Wild.
Breath of fresh air.
That was the lead
all
up
you
story.
video game fans out there.
You shill.
And that's the end of our stage show here at the Electronic Triple 2016. There's the four of us sitting up here, but we have this massive crew, 2 stages. And a bunch of
Wall
people
just drops.
and a microphone being rolled. Am I supposed to sing that?
My mic's gone. Is it really? Oh, I thought it was like, oh, I got to do my Tom Jones bit now. Well, that's a shame. Thank you so much to everyone for watching. Thank you. It's a massive round of applause to all the people behind this who've been... Yeah. Mr. And the man from down under on the wheels of steel, Ed Tran, for directing this whole thing as well. Congratulations. Hard work. All right. Thank you, and thank you so much for watching on Twitch, on YouTube, on GameSpot.com, on Facebook, wherever you are. Thank you so much for watching our show up here, downstairs, all of our impressions. There's loads more videos to check out on GameSpot.com and on YouTube as well. Thank you so much for supporting us. It's been a blast and an honor hosting here with everyone else. And thank you guys for putting in such amazing work as well.
It's easy.
Congratulations.
Games are good.
Yeah, games are good. Another great year at E3. Thank you so much, folks. Take care of yourselves out there. We'll see you next year at E3, but we'll see you in the next couple of days on GameSpot.com. Adios.